Praying for oneness. As members of Christ's church, we should do all we can to maintain unity among ourselves as we continue our spiritual journey. Here now is Gene Getz.
This principle comes from another song of ascent. In this case, we're looking at Psalm 122. But let me give you some continuity here. We looked at Psalm 120, which is the first psalm that is listed in the Psalter, in the Psalms, as a song of ascent, and I call this a prayer for deliverance. We read, "In my distress I called to the Lord, and he answered me, Lord, deliver me from lying lips and a deceitful tongue." And basically the background, I believe, of that concept, that prayer, is that there was a lot of deceit. There was a lot of lying. There was a lot of incredible deception that was present within Israel. After Solomon's reign, after the kingdom was divided, we see in all the kings of Israel, the northern kings, not one of them followed the Lord. Every one of the kings of Israel was a deceitful liar, idolater, immoral. Every one of them, which led to the dispersion where they were taken into captivity by the Assyrians. And then you have Judah. There were a few good kings in Judah. And yet throughout the reign of these kings in Judah, you still had a lot of idolatry, a lot of evil. And so consequently, I believe that the children of Israel who were faithful to God were praying for deliverance from this evil. Now, in the next psalm, Psalm 121, we saw that it was a song of confidence, where we read, "I raise my eyes towards the mountains or the hills. Where will my help come from? My help comes from the Lord, the maker of heaven and earth." And geographically, I believe what's happening here is the pilgrims that are going to Jerusalem are now within the hills of Judea. And they know that beyond these hills, to the highest hill, as it were, or mountain, is Jerusalem. And so as they see the hills of Judea, as they see in the distance, as they're coming to the mount where Jerusalem is located, they're actually asking help because of the thieves, the robbers, and all the evil that exists. Now, in this particular psalm, we have what I've called safe arrival. And you can see the progression. "I rejoiced with those who said to me, 'Let us go to the house of the Lord. Our feet are standing within your gates, Jerusalem.'" They've arrived. They're in Jerusalem when they're singing this particular psalm. We read in verses 3 and 4, "Jerusalem, built as a city should be, solidly joined together, where the tribes, Yahweh's tribes, go up to give thanks to the name of Yahweh." This is an ordinance for Israel. So here you find them within the city gates. They've arrived safely. But here's the significant focus for this principle that we've just looked at, and I called it prayer for peace. Pray for the peace of Jerusalem. May those who love you prosper. May there be peace within your walls, prosperity within your fortresses. And as I was reflecting on that prayer, as I was reflecting on Israel today, my mind, I was intrigued, and I went back and did a little research on the national anthem, Israel's national anthem today. And it's very, very interesting because the words for the national anthem that they have today goes way back into the 1800s. It was written by a Jewish man who lived in the area of what is now in the whole area of the Ukraine. And he had a vision, even though he was a part of those who were scattered, of going back to Jerusalem. Now, that poem was adapted and adopted as an anthem, basically in 1886. They're still not in their homeland officially, but by 1948, when Israel became an official, recognized state, they adopted the words from this poem that was written so many centuries before as their national anthem. And as I looked at the words of that national anthem, which is sung in Israel today, it was really interesting to compare those words with these psalms of ascent. And I want you to notice the correlation. With that background in mind, these psalms, just take a look at this national anthem, the words, and listen to this presentation and see the correlation. The land of Zion, the land of the city of Jerusalem. That's what we read about in these Psalms so many centuries ago. And they're still singing that song. And there's a very interesting phrase there in that particular anthem, refers back 2,000 years, our hope. But as a believer, I can't help but correlate that with what happened 2,000 years ago in Jerusalem. Jesus Christ, the Messiah, was crucified in Jerusalem, and he died for the sins of the whole world, both Jew and Gentile. And he was resurrected. He ascended. He went back to the Father. And you see, Jews are still looking for him to come the first time. We believe that he came the first time, and he's going to come the second time. And I couldn't help but just feel somewhat of the mournfulness of that song, even today, for the hope of Israel and all the challenges, all the problems that they're facing. Still looking for what? For peace. Now, when I go to Jerusalem and go to the Western Wall, I touch that wall and I pray for the peace of Jerusalem. But the fact I know from biblical prophecy, there will never be peace in Jerusalem as they want it until the Prince of Peace comes once again. Now, in terms of our lives as believers, there is a Jerusalem in our future. And it's a place where we're going to live, ultimately. And that takes us to Revelation chapter 21, where John saw this incredible revelation. Then I saw a new heaven and a new earth, for the first heaven and the first earth had passed away, and the sea no longer existed. Now think about that for a moment. There's going to come a time where the earth we live in and the heavens are not going to exist anymore. And there's going to be a replacement, a brand new heaven and a new earth. Now, personally, I believe that when Jesus Christ comes back again, he's going to set up a kingdom on this earth. Personally, I think for 1,000 years. I take that literally. And he's going to reign in Jerusalem. And there will be a reconfiguration of the earth as we know it today. Because one of the prophets says they're going to be fishing out of the Dead Sea. Well, something's going to have to happen to the Dead Sea if they're going to be fishing out of the Dead Sea. And there are things that are happening even today as far as the Dead Sea is concerned, because Israel is digging a channel all the way to the Red Sea to bring in fresh water into the Dead Sea. That'll happen probably one of these days. There will be a reconfiguration. Christ will reign. But at the end of that, there will be the final judgment, and then the new heavens and the new earth. And this is what John saw. I also saw the holy city, New Jerusalem, coming down out of heaven from God, prepared like a bride adorned for her husband. And then I heard a loud voice from the throne. Look, God's dwelling is with humanity, and he will live with them. They will be his people, and God himself will be with them and be their God. He will wipe away every tear from their eyes. Death will no longer exist. Grief, crying, and pain will exist no longer, because the previous things have passed away. There will be a Jerusalem in our future. And it will be the new Jerusalem where we will dwell eternally. You know, it's interesting, as I was reflecting on this just very recently in preparation for this presentation, something came to my mind that popped into my head that I haven't thought about for years. And it's a hymn that was actually written by Isaac Watts. You remember, Isaac Watts wrote actually poetry for most of the Psalms, most prolific lyricist in terms of songs. And the one that popped into my head that I sang years ago as a new believer, and it just came to me, to be honest with you, last night, in the middle of the night, as I was reviewing the New Jerusalem. And the words go like this. The title of it is We're Marching to Zion. Any of you remember that? We're marching to Zion. It's based really upon what we're reading here in these Psalms of Ascent. Come, we that love the Lord, and let our joys be known. Join in a song with sweet accord. And there, that word accord is significant because it's unity, related to the principle that we're looking at. And thus surround the throne as we sing that song. And then the chorus. We're marching to Zion. Beautiful, beautiful Zion. We're marching upward to Zion, the beautiful city of God. We listen to the national anthem of Israel. This, actually, we could call our heavenly anthem. Our heavenly anthem as believers, marching, as it were, to Zion. And ultimately, of course, that will be the new Jerusalem. So here's a reflection and response question as it relates to Christ's prayer. And notice what Jesus prayed for, John 17. I pray not only for these, but also for those who believe in me through their message. Jesus is praying for his disciples, and he's praying for us. May they all be one, as you, Father, are in me, and I am in you. May they also be one with us. May they also be one in us, so the world may believe that you sent me. So let me repeat the principle. As members of Christ's church, we should do all we can to maintain unity among ourselves as we continue on our spiritual journey.